Are you ready for this? Ready for this? Ready for this? Are you ready for this? Ready for this? Ready for this?
I have a particular religious friend I go head to head with and get very boring at dinner parties with on these sort of big questions, and he always sort of seems to think that to be sceptical is to be cynical, and that my view of the world sees no beauty, which I always argue is not the case. I mean, I find the world a really exciting place. There are ideas that are a bit more sciencey, that are just as exciting as the kind of magic-y ones, you know, like the one of the greatest ideas of all time, evolution, the theory of natural selection, you know. Not only is it, how would you say, right... I'm just practicing my timing for my American tour. Pause, right, and duck. Duck. I mean, not only is it good science, but it's also really thrilling, don't you think, this idea that an individual of a species can be born sort of mutated in a good way. And in the moment of that individual's birth, it holds within its genetic code the potential for its entire species to take a huge evolutionary leap forward. It's amazing. And I always think, what would life have been like being one of those individual mutant freaks? You know, what did the other kids think? Imagine being the first dude ever to have feet. I reckon that would be really tough. And also, what I wonder is, how did these individuals with their new bits, like, how did they figure out how to use them? Did they just stumble upon their potential purpose one day, just accidentally, you know? Imagine you're a fish, and you're just swimming in the ocean with your school, and you're all just hanging out, swimming, same as always, because you're fish. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Tony... fucking Tony... Tony just goes... I'm getting out. Yeah, I'm freezing. You're a fish, Tony. Yeah, well, I'm a cold fish. I just want to pop out for a bit, you know, maybe lie on my towel. I'll bring you an ice cream. Yeah, don't bother, Tony, you're a freak. Come on, school, let's go. Let's ostracize him for being different. Yeah, let's ostracize him. Tony's a freak. Let's ostracize him for being different. No, don't ostracize me. I'm just a little bit different. Oh, buggy you then. I'll show you guys. Fuck me. Those are going to come in handy. And imagine what Tony would think, standing there on his brand new feet, on the brink of the beginnings of mankind as we know it. If he could look forward just a few short hundreds of millions of years to see one of his descendants, an Israeli Jew by the name of Jesus, having a nail hammered through his feet. The very feet that Tony provided him with as a punishment for having a sort of schizophrenic discourse with a god who was created by man to explain the existence of feet in the absence of the knowledge of the existence of Tony. I think that would blow his little fishy mind. This religious friend of mine, arguments often end with him telling me that I'm not very open-minded. And because he's my friend and I respect him, I've written him a song. It's called If You Open Your Mind Too Much, Your Brain Will Fall Out. Which I think is brilliant. It's so clever. Unfortunately, I didn't come up with it myself. I read that in a book. So to avoid copyright issues, I've given it a subtitle, which is Take My Wife, If anyone can show me one example in the history of the world of a single psychic who's been able to prove under reasonable experimental conditions that they are able to read minds. And if anyone can show me one example in the history of the world of a single astrologer who's been able to prove under reasonable experimental conditions that they can predict future human events by interpreting celestial signs. And if anyone can show me one example in the history of the world of a single homeopathic practitioner who's been able to prove under reasonable experimental conditions that solutions made up of infinitely tiny particles of good stuff dissolved repeatedly into relatively huge quantities of water have a consistently higher medicinal value than a similarly administered placebo. And if anyone can show me one example in the history of the world of a single spiritual person who's been able to show either empirically or logically the existence of a higher power with any consciousness or interest in the human race, or ability to punish or reward humans for their moral choices, or that there is any reason other than fear to believe in any version of an afterlife, I will give you my piano, one of my legs, and my wife.